Hello, welcome back to I Create For You. We are doing another story in the Haunted Houses book, and it's the last one, and it's called Ghosts in the White House. I had a whole book on presidential ghosts a little bit ago, and we'll see if they recap that a little bit. What would you think if you saw Abraham Lincoln? Not just in a photograph or a movie, but the real man, or ghost, himself. Some people claim they have seen the ghost of President Lincoln. He has supposedly appeared to people both living at and visiting the White House. People also claim that his death was foretold. In 1865, Lincoln made plans to attend a play at Ford's Theater. A few days before, one of his bodyguards dreamed that Lincoln would be killed. He was so upset by the dream that he begged Lincoln not to attend the performance. Lincoln also dreamed that an assassin would kill him. In the dream, he saw himself lying in a coffin, but historians point out that Lincoln was a gloomy man. He often brooded over the possibility of being assassinated. In the early morning of the day of the performance, Lincoln dreamed that he was on a ship sailing to an unknown place. That night he was shot and killed while he watched a play. After his death, people began hearing his footsteps walking through the halls of the White House. President Calvin Coolidge's wife, Grace Coolidge, is one of the people who said she saw Lincoln's ghost. One day when she was walking up the White House, she glanced up at the Oval Office. Her heart jumped. There she saw Lincoln standing in the window. He stared right at her, then turned and walked away. There were frequent reports of Lincoln's ghost during the presidency of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt's secretary supposedly either saw the ghost or felt its presence. One time, Queen Wilhelmina, of the Netherlands, visited the White House. She was comfortably settled in her bedroom when suddenly there was a knock on her door. "Come in," she called. No one responded. So the Queen got up and opened the door. There stood Abraham Lincoln in his top hat. One report says Queen Wilhelmina was so frightened that she fainted. When she came to, the figure was gone. The Queen told President Roosevelt about her experience, and the next morning he told her that several people had reported seeing Lincoln in that same bedroom. In fact, it is known as the Lincoln Room. Several workers at the White House reported seeing Lincoln sitting on the bed in the Lincoln Room, pulling on his boots. One of these was Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt's maid, Mary Even. One night when Mrs. Roosevelt was working late, Mary Even came rushing into her. The maid had said she had seen Lincoln sitting on the bed taking off his boots. Many people who cannot claim to have seen the ghost of Lincoln say they have felt his presence. And Roosevelt's little dog, Fala, often barked at something no one else could see. Could it have been Abe's ghost? President Harry Truman used to say that he heard many mysterious knocks on his door in the middle of the night. When he answered, no one was ever there. Truman joked about these incidents. He said it must have been Lincoln knocking. Truman didn't believe in ghosts, but he heard the knocks. Some people say that after President Truman's term ended, Lincoln's ghost seemed to disappear from the White House for a time. However, there are recent stories from the administration of former President Ronald Reagan. His daughter Maureen and her husband, Dennis Revel, usually slept in the Lincoln Room when they visited the White House. Maureen insisted that sometimes in the early morning hours she and Dennis saw a red or orange aura. They strongly felt that it was Lincoln's spirit. Ronald and Nancy Reagan weren't too sure they believed in the ghost. Nancy said she never heard Lincoln knocking on her door, but she did admit that the family dog Rex often barked at the door of the Lincoln Room. Lincoln's ghost was not has not been the only apparition floating about the White House. At one time, Dolly Madison's ghost caused quite a stir in the gardens. Dolly Madison was the wife of James Madison, the fourth President of the United States. When the Madisons lived in the White House, Dolly had planted a beautiful rose garden. She loved the garden and often walked through it to admire the roses. About 100 years after Dolly's death, her ghost appeared to the gardeners who worked for President Woodrow Wilson. Apparently, Mrs. Wilson didn't want to keep the rose garden and had ordered it to be dug up. That's when Mrs. Madison's ghost began to bother the gardeners. They were sure she was warning them not to disturb her roses, so the garden stayed. The ghosts of other presidents have also been seen or heard. One night, a seamstress was working late in the Rose Room, which had once been President Andrew Jackson's bedroom. Suddenly, the seamstress heard laughter. No one was nearby. Then a strange chill surrounded her for just a moment. Had Jackson's ghost paid a visit? William Henry Harrison, ninth President of the United States, died after only 1 month in office. There were many stories about his ghostly visits to the attic before the White House was remodeled. One wonders if the White House ghosts ever bump into each other in the halls or fight over who gets to haunt which room. And that's the last story in this book. Maybe you guys already knew of this, but I haven't heard it before, of there even being an attic in the White House, which I don't know, it just seems weird, but it is a house, so to speak, so I guess there could be an attic, just like there could be a basement. So either way, I'm going to try to draw Lincoln as a creepy, ghostly, and Abe Lincoln. So hopefully this looks all right. Get his hair in here. Sorry if you hear my girl kitty again. She's going through her time, and so she's going to be a little rammy, and she's definitely pursuing the one cat, and he just isn't having it. So there's going to be a lot of background noise probably. I apologize. They always tell you to get your animals fixed, but they never give you a reasonable charge or fee to get it done. So in the meantime, she's going to be a little bit crazed. I'm trying to do his hair. Okay. And then I'm going to do his beard down here. I'm going to do him without his top hat. A lot of shading in this one today. I mean, coloring, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I guess you can hear it pretty good, can't you? Sorry about that. I know I'm not giving him a whole lot of teeth, but I'm not going to count out 32 teeth. I thought it would be kind of fitting if he was more ghostly than he was his original self, since that's all they talked about in there is how he wasn't a ghost. So it just made him a little creepier. Maybe I should have given him his top hat. He would have looked more like Abraham Lincoln, right? So maybe I'll just add it. I can remember what the top hat looked like. Oh my God. What the heck is that? I'm having a brain melt. Let me look to see if they have a picture of him in the book that I can use a reference of. For some reason, I'm having a brain fart about what a top hat looks like. Oh yeah, sure. And they have him not with no top hat. Well then, we're going to stick to that because I'm having a brain fart. He was an awfully tall man, wasn't he? Very tall and slender. Our 16th president. And there's our Abraham Lincoln, skeletal Abraham Lincoln, who has haunted the White House. Of course, I had to make him creepy. So that's the last story in here. I'm going to try to look through here and see if I can find some stories to tell in here. Now, these are rather long stories, so I'm not going to read every single one, but I will go through and check out the different ones and see which ones I could get away with. Because, like, this one goes from page 37 up to page 51, so that's a pretty long one. So I'll just have to, like, I could probably do the haunted playhouse, And the Eerie Presence. I could probably do those two out of this book. I have to look. I'll have to look and see what, because it may not be that long, but I will check it out. Like I said, these don't have any illustrations, so I'm not copying anything. So there you have it. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm gonna try to do it on Monday. Monday's gonna be a little rough for me. It's my oldest grandson's birthday, and I haven't seen him in over a year, and this is the second birthday I've missed because of my daughter had shunned us. So I'm gonna try to get something out for Monday. I won't be probably I'm gonna just try. Let me just say that much. I don't know if I will or not. I'm not gonna make a promise, but I'm gonna at least try. Thanks so much for stopping by. Please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. It's free and it really helps out the channel if you like this kind of thing. And on Wednesdays I do whatever. And right now we're just working in the 200 drawing prompt book, which is full of sketches that you can even do on your own. I give you the prompt that's in the book and you can do it at your own pace. I'm going to be trying to do at least 2 a week so that we can get through the book. We're not even at 100 yet. We're almost in the 70s, so that is a pretty good amount. And if you have subscribed, thanks so much for hanging out and supporting the channel. Please stay happy, healthy, creative, colorful, creepy, true to yourself, and kind. It matters. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.